Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a really fascinating puzzle. It's famous for, well, its incredibly improbable starting point, a murder witnessed on a moving train.
That's right. We're getting into this extraordinary case that kicks off with an eyewitness account that seems just impossible. And it leads to, a very efficient domestic helper and a really complex plot all tangled up with inheritance.
It really has that classic Agatha Christie feel, doesn't it? Where the initial evidence is so strange, so out there that
Yeah.
the police just dismiss it.
Exactly. It forces the real investigation down these less conventional paths, relying on intuition, really.
So let's set the scene. It all begins on a rather dreary December evening, post-Christmas shopping rush. And our key witness is Mrs. McGillicuddy.
Yes, described as stout, carrying lots of parcels. She's on the 4:50 train from Paddington, traveling first class.
She nods off for a bit.
She does. Wakes up feeling quite alert, actually. And then her train slows, runs parallel to another train, an up train going the other way. She just happens to look out the window.
And this is the moment. What exactly does she see? Because this is like the foundation for everything that follows.
It's horrifying. She sees a man in the carriage opposite. His back is to her, but his shoulders look set, suggesting, maybe 30s or older. And he's actively strangling a woman.
Strangling her.
Yeah.
Right there in the lit carriage.
Yes. Mrs. McGillicuddy even remembers seeing the victim's face, described as all blue. It's quick, brutal, and just terribly visible for that brief moment the trains are alongside each other.
Wow. Okay, so she must have immediately raised the alarm, finds a ticket collector.
She does. Reports exactly what she saw. A murder happening right next to her, basically, while traveling at speed.
But this is where it hits a wall, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is where the system kind of fails her. The ticket collector hears her story, but, well, it just doesn't compute for him. A murder on a freight train? Who does that?
He thinks she's mistaken. Or maybe just confused.
He basically writes her off as a tiresome member of the traveling public. Maybe dreaming, maybe overwrought. So when the initial police checks are done, looking for a body near the tracks, asking about disturbances, they find absolutely nothing. Zero.
But wait, I mean, if she was so certain,
Yeah.
why wouldn't the police think, okay, maybe the killer hid the body on the train? Not finding it off the train doesn't mean it didn't happen, right?
You'd think so. But their logic was pretty rigid. Either the body's still on the train somewhere, which seems unlikely if the killer wanted to get away with it, or it was thrown out. And if it was thrown out, it should be right beside the tracks.
And since it wasn't.
Since absolutely no corpse turned up near the line after inquiries, they just concluded, well, the murder itself must not have happened. Mrs. McGillicuddy, bless her, must have been mistaken about the core event.
But she knows she wasn't mistaken.
Yeah.
And this is when she turns to the one person who will definitely believe her.
Miss Jane Marple. Exactly. And Miss Marple listens, and her reaction is immediate. Elspeth McGillicuddy was not mistaken. If she saw a murder, she saw a murder.
So the body must exist. It just vanished somehow.
But not by magic. Miss Marple thinks practically, geographically. She actually takes the 4:50 train herself just to observe the route to see where such a vanishing act could be possible.
And this is where her genius really comes in. What does she spot about the railway line itself?
It's brilliant because it's about the physical track. She notices that near a place called Brackhampton, the line takes quite a sharp curve, and it runs along the top of a high embankment.
Okay, a curve on an embankment.
Think about what happens when a train takes a sharp curve at speed. It leans, right? It tilts inwards quite dramatically.
So if someone were to, say, push a body out of the window at that exact point.
The lean of the train itself would basically help throw the body clear. It wouldn't just tumble down right next to the tracks. It would be pitched further down the slope of the embankment.
Down into the undergrowth, away from the immediate trackside.
Precisely. It lands well away from where anyone would normally search, hidden by bushes, uneven ground. It creates the perfect blind spot. An ingenious way to dispose of a body, really.
A nearly impossible crime made possible by, well, physics and geography. Okay, so Miss Marple has the theory. She has the likely location, but she's got a problem.
She does. The sources are clear. She's getting older, too old for any more adventures, as they put it. Her doctor had even forbidden strenuous activity like practical gardening. She can't exactly go scrambling down railway embankments herself.
She needs someone to do the legwork.
She needs an agent, a proxy, and the person she recruits is honestly quite an amazing character herself, Lucy Eyelesbarrow.
Lucy Eyelesbarrow. Tell us about her. She's not your typical investigator.
Not at all. Lucy is brilliant. She got a first in mathematics at Oxford. But she looked around at the prospects for highly educated women in the 1950s academic world and thought, they were singularly ill-rewarded.
So she did something completely different.
She pivoted massively. She saw a shortage, a market niche, highly efficient, intelligent household help was in demand and could command top wages. So she became a professional domestician, super organized, super capable, and very well paid.
A mathematician turned high-end housekeeper. That's quite the career change.
And she's the perfect person for this. Analytical, practical, discreet. Miss Marple's instruction to her is wonderfully direct. Just, I want you to find a body.
Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
So Lucy needs to get access to this embankment area. How does she manage that?
Well, the embankment runs alongside the grounds of a large, rather dilapidated estate called Rutherford Hall. It's near Brackhampton, right in the target zone Miss Marple identified.
Rutherford Hall, described as a sort of miniature Windsor castle. Bit run down.
Very rundown. Neglected, surrounded by new housing estates cropping up. It's owned by this incredibly miserly, grumpy old man, Luther Crackenthorpe, and his family lives there or visits. So, conveniently, potential suspects are right on site.
And Lucy gets a job there.
Yes, she arranges to get a temporary position as domestic help. Her cover story is perfect. She says she needs to be in the area to be near an elderly, ailing aunt who supposedly lives in Brackhampton. It gives her a legitimate reason to be at Rutherford Hall.
Clever. But she can't just wander off digging on the railway embankment whenever she likes. How does she search the specific spot Miss Marple suspected?
This is where her practical intelligence shines. She needs an excuse to be outdoors, wearing sensible clothes, maybe boots, and be alone near that specific stretch of land bordering the railway line.
So what's the plan?
Golf practice. She tells the family she plays golf and uses the overgrown parkland near the embankment to practice her swing. It's slightly eccentric, maybe, but plausible enough. Who's going to question the hired help hitting a few golf balls in the rough ground? It gives her the perfect cover to systematically search the area Miss Marple pinpointed.
Brilliant. And does this meticulous searching pay off?
Almost immediately, yes. Near a distinctive broken thorn bush on the embankment slope, just where Miss Marple theorized Lucy finds something. Two small things, actually.
The first clues.
The very first concrete link to the victim. She finds a small, cheap enameled powder compact, and crucially, a tiny tuft of light-colored fur.
Fur. Why is that important?
Because Mrs. McGillicuddy, in her original account, specifically remembered the woman being strangled was wearing a light-colored fur coat or stole. It's a direct match to the eyewitness testimony.
Okay, so proof the victim was there. But wait, if the body was thrown down the embankment, why didn't Lucy find the body itself there during her golf practice?
Because Miss Marple's theory went a step further. She reasoned the killer couldn't just leave the body lying on the embankment indefinitely. They must have thrown it there initially, then come back later, probably under cover of darkness, to move it to a more permanent hiding place.
So Lucy needs to figure out where it was moved to.
Exactly. Following Miss Marple's logic, where's a likely hiding spot nearby, Lucy starts investigating the outbuildings on the Rutherford Hall estate, close to that part of the embankment. This leads her to the Long Barn.
The Long Barn, used for village events like whist drives and sales of work.
That's the one. But it also served another purpose. It housed old Mr. Crackenthorpe's truly dreadful collection of art and antiques. Lots of junk, basically, including some rather large items.
And among this collection,
she finds the ultimate, almost unbelievable hiding place. Tucked away amongst dusty statues and unwanted furniture is a huge, incredibly heavy, ancient stone sarcophagus.
A sarcophagus, like an Egyptian coffin.
Exactly like that. Who knows where old Crackenthorpe acquired it? Lucy, showing some serious initiative, manages to find a crowbar, probably from the kitchen or tool shed, and levers the massive lid open.
And inside?
Inside is the grim confirmation of everything. The body of the strangled woman, still wearing remnants of that light fur coat, hidden away inside this ancient stone tomb.
Wow. So the body is found. The police have to take it seriously now. The focus must shift immediately from finding the victim to figuring out why she was killed and by whom, which means looking at Rutherford Hall and its inhabitants.
Absolutely. And the why gets very dark very quickly once you understand the family finances. It all stems from the will left by old Luther Crackenthorpe's father.
The grandfather's will. What did it stipulate?
It set up a large trust fund, but with a major condition. The capital could only be divided among Luther's children after Luther himself died. Until then, they just got the income, which Luther, being incredibly mean, kept as low as possible.
Okay, so they're all waiting for the old man to die to get their hands on the real money.
Yep.
That creates motive right there.
It gets worse. You mentioned the tontine principle. Could you explain that for listeners? How did that apply here?
Yeah, it's a really morbid financial mechanism. Basically, the trust fund was set up to be divided into shares for the surviving children. Cedric, Harold, Alfred, Emma, and also Edith's son, Alexander. She had died earlier. But here's the grim part of a tontine. When one of the beneficiaries dies, their potential share doesn't go to their heirs. It gets redistributed among the surviving beneficiaries named in the original trust.
So the fewer siblings left standing when old Luther finally dies.
The bigger the payout for each survivor. It literally incentivizes siblings wanting other siblings out of the picture. It's a horrible setup. And all this time, old Luther is clinging to life, apparently boasting he wouldn't die to oblige them. That structure makes the entire family suspects, purely on financial grounds. Can you give us a quick sketch of the main players, the sons particularly?
Sure. There's Cedric. He's the painter, living abroad, described as pretty self-centered. Then there's Harold, the businessman in the city. Looks very respectable, but the source mentions he was financially in Queer Street.
In Queer Street. That's an old term for being in serious debt, right?
Exactly. Deep financial trouble. And finally, there's Alfred, known as Flash Alf. He's the black sheep of the family. Always seems to be short of cash, involved in slightly shady dealings, constantly in low water, is how he's described.
Okay, so you have these brothers, all potentially benefiting from deaths in the family. Now, the body in the sarcophagus, she's eventually identified as Anna Stravinska. But initially, the police were pursuing a different angle, weren't they? Something about a French connection.
Yes, that was a clever bit of misdirection planted by the killer. Before the body was ID'd, a letter had surfaced. It was supposedly from a French woman named Martine, claiming to be the widow of Luther's eldest son, Edmund, who died years ago in the war.
And this Martine claimed to have a son.
Right, which, if true, would create a huge inheritance issue. It could potentially mean that Alexander, the son of Luther's deceased daughter Edith, might lose his future claim on Rutherford Hall itself, as Edmund was the eldest son.
So the police initially thought the dead woman, Anna Stravinska, might be connected to this Martine plot.
Precisely. Anna was a dancer and apparently bore a strong resemblance to the supposed Martine. The first theory was maybe Anna was hired to impersonate Martine as part of some fraud or blackmail scheme against the Crackenthorpes, and it went wrong. It cleverly pointed the motive away from a simple murder by an outsider.
It's fascinating because it suggests the killer had like a two-stage plan. Stage 1, kill Anna and hide the body. Stage 2, deal with the family heirs. Finding the body solved stage 1, but the second part was still active.
Exactly. And things escalate dramatically, violently even, when people at Rutherford Hall start getting sick.
Right, the poisonings begin. It starts with old Mr. Crackenthorpe himself, doesn't it, at Christmas?
Yes. He becomes seriously ill. The family doctor, Dr. Quimper, is called in. He actually suspects arsenic poisoning at the time. But maybe because Luther was old and known for overindulging and there wasn't definitive proof right away, Quimper apparently lets the suspicion drop.
But the killer wasn't finished. They were just testing the waters, perhaps. Then comes the curry incident.
Ah, yes, the infamous curry. The Mr. Crackenthorpe specifically requested Lucy make him a hot curry, and someone laced that curry batch with arsenic.
And it affected several people.
Pretty much everyone who ate it got sick. Most recovered, including Luther again. But Alfred Flash Alf, the black sheep, he suffers a relapse, gets much worse, and dies from the poisoning.
So the first heir is eliminated. But the killer doesn't stop there, do they? The calculation seems to ramp up.
No, they move on quickly. Harold, the city brother who was in debt, had been ill from the curry, but went back to London to recover. He then receives a package in the post.
Containing
Tablets. Supposedly sedative tablets prescribed for his sister Emma, sent on by Dr. Quimper to help Harold's recovery. But they weren't sedatives.
What were they?
Aconite, a fast-acting, deadly poison. Harold takes them, thinking they're medicine, and dies almost instantly. The killer had substituted the pills and mailed them, using the doctor's roll as cover.
That's chillingly calculated. So now the police absolutely know they're dealing with a serial killer within or connected to the family, targeting the beneficiaries one by one, playing that deadly tontine game.
Right, so they have to go back to square one, essentially, re-examine everyone's movements, their alibis, specifically for December 20th, the day Mrs. McGillicuddy witnessed the strangling on the train.
And how did those alibis hold up under fresh scrutiny?
They were messy, as you might expect. Harold, before he died, had provided a very detailed alibi covering his time almost perfectly, which maybe seemed too perfect. Alfred, before he died, had just vaguely said he couldn't remember his movements.
What about Cedric the artist?
Cedric was forced to admit he hadn't been in Ibiza as long as he claimed. He'd actually flown back early and arrived secretly on December 19th, the day before the murder. Very suspicious. Emma, the sister, had her account involving meeting Brian Eastley, her late sister Edith's husband, at the train station that day. Everyone looked a bit shaky.
But Miss Marple, she's still thinking. She knows the how of the body disposal. She knows the why of the later murders, the tontine. But the original murder, who was the man on the train, if Dr. Quimper was treating the family, knew about the arsenic. Could he be connected? How to prove it?
This leads to her final brilliant trap. It's pure Miss Marple ingenuity. She needs to link Quimper directly to the physical act Mrs. McGillicuddy witnessed months earlier.
How does she do it?
She arranges a tea party at Rutherford Hall. It seems innocuous, just a gathering for the recovering family members, but she makes absolutely sure that both Mrs. McGillicuddy and Dr. Quimper are present.
Okay, the key players are in the room.
Then Miss Marple stages a dramatic medical emergency. She pretends to choke violently on a fishbone.
She fakes choking. That's quite the performance.
Oh, it's pure theater. She clutches her throat, gasping, making a huge scene. Dr. Quimper, the medical professional, reacts instantly. His doctor instincts take over, the same instincts, perhaps, that let him spot arsenic symptoms or handle poisons. He rushes over to help.
And what does he do?
To examine her throat properly, he has to push her head and shoulders back, tilting her head up towards the light from the window, holding her throat firmly.
Putting himself in the exact same physical pose as the man Mrs. McGillicuddy saw strangling the woman on the train.
Exactly. Shoulders set, hands at the throat, framed against the light. And in that instant, seeing him like that, performing that specific action, Mrs. McGillicuddy's memory clicks. It's visceral. She recognizes the posture, the set of the shoulders. She blurts it out, confirms it's him.
The game is up. Caught by a fake fishbone.
Completely undone. Quimper, cornered, apparently mutters something like, "If ever a man had the devil's own luck," which, given he was caught by an elderly woman pretending to choke, is quite ironic.
So it was Dr. Quimper all along.
Yeah.
He was Anna Stravinska's husband.
Yes. The motive was horribly twofold. He murdered Anna because she wouldn't grant him a divorce, which stopped him from marrying Emma Crackenthorpe, whom he genuinely seemed to care for, but he also desperately wanted the Crackenthorpe fortune that would eventually come to Emma.
So he kills his wife, uses the embankment trick to hide the body temporarily, plants it in the sarcophagus, fakes the Martine letter to throw suspicion onto the family's internal squabbles.
And then starts methodically poisoning the heirs Alfred, then Harold, planning to pick them off one by one, likely intending to marry Emma and inherit the vastly increased fortune when old Luther finally died.
It really took extraordinary resourcefulness just to confirm the original crime, didn't it? From Miss Marple figuring out the embankment's significance to Lucy Eyelesbarrow's brilliant cover story with the golf practice allowing her to search methodically.
It's an incredible chain of deduction and action, and the crime itself is terrifyingly layered. You have the initial, almost random-seeming murder of his wife, concealed by geography. Then you have the systematic, calculated poisoning plot targeting the family, disguised as illness and accidents. He really thought he could get away with it all.
He managed to eliminate Anna, Alfred, and Harold, all to clear the path to Emma and the inheritance. But here's the final, wonderful, almost darkly comic irony of the whole story.
Old Mr. Crackenthorpe, the man whose death was the key to unlocking the entire fortune. The man who always bragged he wouldn't die just to oblige them.
And he didn't. He survived the suspected arsenic attempt. He survived the poisoned curry. He outlasted the entire murderous scheme that took down 3 other people. Quimper goes through all this horror.
Kills 3 people, risks everything. And the one person he needed to die to actually get the money, old Luther, is still there at the end. Alive, probably complaining about the quality of the tea, still holding on to Rutherford Hall and the purse strings.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Does ultimate wickedness, even when it's this calculated and complex, sometimes just end up creating, well, temporary messy chaos rather than achieving its goal? Maybe sometimes the biggest obstacle to a villain's grand plan isn't the detective, but just the sheer bloody-minded stubbornness of the person they're trying to get rid of.
Definitely something to think about next time you're stuck on a train looking out the window. You never know what you might see, or what might be happening just out of sight.